There's been numerous movies created about the mob and its members, some better than others. People are fascinated by gangster movies. Some enjoy rooting for the bad guys, while others enjoy a look inside what their lives were like, which includes different forms of loyalty, blind loyalty, conflicting loyalties, and disloyalty, and most of all, betrayals. Someone once said, the bad thing about these types of movies is the influence they could have on young, impressionable minds. As realistic as these movies may seem, one should always be mindful it's only a movie, extremely different compared to actual real life. Today, I'm going to give a brief description of a few of these movies and show a comparison of the actors versus the actual people. Let me know in the comments what your favorite movie is and which actor you believe best resembled the character that they played. I'll only be mentioning the more memorable characters. Let's begin with Goodfellas, one of the more memorable movies. It chronicles the life in and around the mob through the eyes of Lucchese associate Henry Hill, from his younger days of running errands to committing crimes and leading up to the planning of the Lufthansa heist and its aftermath. The movie's director, Martin Scorsese, was initially skeptical about taking the project on. He wasn't planning on creating any more movies like that. What changed his mind was when he read the book Wise Guy. According to Scorsese, he was captivated by Henry Hill's story, and the movie Goodfellas went on to be nominated for 6 Academy Awards. It's a movie spoken about the most, as well as debated. The infamous scene where Joe Pesci's character, Tommy DeSimone, questions Ray Liotta's character, Henry Hill, about whether he thinks he's a clown is a scene people repeat more than any other movie line. Ray Liotta played Henry Hill, Robert De Niro as James Conway, based on Jimmy Burke, Joe Pesci as Tommy DeVito, based on Tommy DeSimone, Paul Sorvino as Paul Cicero, based on Paulie Vario, Frankie Vincent as Billy Bats Benvina, and Samuel L. Jackson as Parnell Stacks Edwards. The movie Lansky displays an older retired Meyer Lansky who was residing in Miami while being investigated by the FBI. The storyline has Lansky being interviewed for a biography by a down-on-his-luck journalist. One of the funny parts in the movie is when Lansky gives the fictional journalist, David Stone, his ground rules. Anything I choose to tell you is off the record till I give you permission to put it in the book. Any conversations about me, I want to know. Betray me, and there will be consequences. Harvey Keitel plays Meyer Lansky, David Cade as Bugsy Siegel, Shane McRae as Lucky Luciano, and Robert Walker Branchard as Al Capone. The movie Capone depicts a middle-aged Al Capone who was released from prison following his conviction for tax evasion, in which he served 11 years. Capone was suffering from syphilis and dementia and was deteriorating physically and mentally. In the film, Capone is retired from his position as boss of Chicago and is living in Florida. The FBI still had him under surveillance and believed that he was faking his illness. Tom Hardy starred as Al Capone, Matt Dillon as Johnny Torrio, Al Sapienza as Ralph Capone, Linda Cardellini as May Capone, Al Capone's wife, and Noel Fisher as Sonny Capone Jr., Al Capone's son. Casino is another movie directed by Martin Scorsese and is based on Frank Lefty Rosenthal, who was an associate of the Chicago mob, as well as an expert on odd making. It was said that Rosenthal would study over 40 newspapers each morning in order to set the odds on sports games. He ran several casinos for the mob, including the Stardust. At some point, Rosenthal discovered that Anthony Spilotro, who the Chicago mob had managing the casino profits, was skimming the mob's money, as well as having an affair with Rosenthal's wife. As a result, the Spilotro brothers were both killed. And here's an actual photo from 1986 where they were buried. Robert De Niro played Sam Rothstein, based on Frank Lefty Rosenthal. Sharon Stone as Ginger McKenna, based on Ginger McGee, Rosenthal's wife. Joe Pesci as Nicky Santoro, based on Anthony Spilotro. Philip Soriano as Dominic Santoro, based on Michael Spilotro. Frank Vincent as Frank Marino, based on Frank Cullotta. The Irishman, another movie directed by Martin Scorsese, is a story about Jimmy Hoffa and the mob, based off of the book I Heard You Paint Houses, which chronicles the life of Frank Sheeran. The movie reflects Sheeran's version of events including him killing not only Joe Gallo, but Hoffa as well. Robert De Niro played Frank Sheeran, Joe Pesci as Russell Buffalino, Al Pacino as Jimmy Hoffa, Harvey Keitel as Angelo Bruno, and Stephen Graham as Anthony Provenzano. Louis Cancelmi as Sally Bugs Bergoglio, Sebastian Maniscalco as Joe Gallo, Dominic Lombardozzi as Fat Tony Salerno, and Jack Houston as Robert Kennedy. Donnie Brasco is the story of how undercover FBI agent Joe Pistone infiltrated the Bonanno family and mainly focuses on his relationship with Bonanno member Lefty Ruggiero. Al Pacino played Lefty Ruggiero, Johnny Depp as Donnie Brasco, the undercover agent, Michael Madison as Sonny Black Napolitano, Robert Mano as Sonny Red Indelicato, Brian Tarantina as Bruno Indelicato, and Val Avery as Santo Trafficante. American Gangster depicts the rise of Harlem drug boss Frank Lucas and the detective Richie Roberts, who brought down his empire. Denzel Washington played Frank Lucas, Cuba Gooding Jr. as Nicky Bonds, Clarence Williams as Bumpy Johnson, and Russell Crowe as Richie Roberts. Black Mass is the story of James Whitey Bulger and his Winter Hill Gang, and the relationship he had with FBI agent John Conley, one where Conley would look the other way on crimes committed by the Winter Hill Gang, and Bulger would provide information on the Patriarca family. Johnny Depp played Whitey Bulger, Joel Edgerton as FBI agent John Conley, Jesse Plemons as Kevin Weeks, W. Earl Brown as John Martorano, Bill Hames as Gennaro Angiulo, Rory Coltrane as Steve Flemmi, and Benedict Cumberbatch as William Bulger. Legend is a story about the infamous twin brothers, Ronnie and Reggie Cray, and their control over London's East End. The movie depicts not only all the Cray brothers' battles, but Reggie Cray's relationship and ultimate marriage to Frances Shay. Tom Hardy played a dual role as Ronnie and Reggie Cray, Emily Browning as Frances Shay, and Chaz Palminteri as Angelo Bruno. Let me quickly mention the super thanks icon found beneath the video in the 3-dot drop-down for anyone who'd like to show appreciation for videos like this, and thank you. As far as the movies I covered today, I believe Martin Scorsese sets the bar as far as mob movies go. He's definitely one of the all-time greatest directors. That's just my opinion. But having said that, the other movies are just as good in their own ways. Personally, I don't have a favorite, but I did enjoy American Gangster, Black Mass, and Legend. Lansky was good too because it had a different storyline to it. Obviously, Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Harvey Keitel all play convincing gangster parts. Tom Hardy gave an excellent performance playing both Cray brothers, and Denzel Washington definitely did his thing as Frank Lucas, as well as Cuba Gooding Jr., who played Nicky Bonds. Presently, with artificial intelligence, commonly referred to as AI, the creative possibilities for making these movies are on a whole nother level. Nonetheless, let's hope that the movie industry doesn't try to phase out writers and actors. Just by taking a person's headshots, an entire movie can be created that looks like the person starred in it. So although with AI, the possibilities are endless, sometimes the old-fashioned way remains best.